All right. So, welcome everyone. Appreciate you joining. And if those of you who are going to watch the recording of this, sorry you couldn't make it to the live session, but um, let me make sure I've got everything going. Okay. So, like I said, I want this to be more like a group coaching session than me just presenting a lecture. So, if at any point during this, if you have a question, feel free to pop off mute. I've got the chat open, so pop your question in the chat if you don't want to come off mute. And yeah, let's just have a back and forth here. I really want to provide as much value and set you all up if you're interested in doing a TEDx talk, set you all up for that possibility as you think about applying, as you look at trying to get connected with different events. Listen, I'm the curator and head speaker coach at TEDx Manitou Springs, and I've done some work with TEDx Boulder. We're actually getting ready to put on our 10th event at TEDx Manitou Springs here in May. So I've been through this quite a bit. And yeah, just excited to take you all through some updated stuff here, an updated look at the world of how to craft your talk, how to think about putting your talk together in such a way that it's going to capture that curator or that organizer's eyes. Because let me tell you, as an organizer, as a curator, we review so many. So we want your talk to stand out. All right. If you have questions, we will also have some at the end. I'll save time for Q&A at the end. But again, like I said, feel free to interrupt me, come off mute, raise your hand, all that good stuff, and we'll address it as we go along here. But let's get into it. Oh, this is being recorded. I will send out the recording, all that good stuff. All right. So, when I think about, as I just said, whenever we announce a TEDx event, that we are putting out a call for speakers, that we are accepting applications for our next TEDx event at TEDx Manitou Springs, inevitably we get literally thousands of applications. I sift through every single one to take a look at, hey, does this fit our theme? Does this fit what we're going for in terms of diversity? Is this diversity of ideas, diversity of people? And inevitably, when we choose our 3 to 6 speakers, I get emails back after we send out the unfortunately you didn't make it emails to all the folks who weren't chosen. And I get the number one question I get asked is this: why wasn't my talk chosen? I spend so much time answering this that really, if you pay attention to the rest of what I'm going to share with you today, you're going to see exactly what I'm looking for and then see if it fits into how you've chosen to put your talk together, how you describe your talk and your idea. But really, it comes down to, y'all, so many talk submissions are a reflection of how we've been taught to communicate. I'm going to get into a little bit of communication theory here, but we have been taught to communicate in formal education, in our schooling, that look, good communication of an idea is just say what you know with as much certainty as you can muster, be super just convicted in it, and try to pack in all that you know into trying to make your case, trying to state your case. And what that often does is it feels lectury. And to somebody who's looking for, as Ted's slogan says, ideas worth sharing. Well, an idea is not exactly the same thing as I want fundamental truth. And I just want that thrown at me. And so many talk applications come at it from that perspective. And in fact, Angie, who you see here, was one of those. Angie had applied to our TEDx event about a year and a half ago, attended one of these live sessions with me, how to craft a TEDx-worthy talk, and afterwards said exactly what I just said. Hey, I've been applying to all of these TEDx events, and I'm not breaking through. Can you take a look at my talk and my application and see what you might be missing based on what you have shared? And so I did. And really, what it came down to was what I just described. Angie's talk was one where it was overwhelmingly fact based, really good fact, like absolutely facts that in a lot of ways were undeniable. But Angie was trying to pack so much into their talk, into their idea, that it became this question in my mind as I read through. I don't know what this talk is about, and I don't know why Angie's the one to give this talk. And so I just shared some of that with Angie. I just shared, hey, if you go forward, if this is something you really want to do, Here's what you should think about. It's a lot of the stuff that I'm about to go through here today. But sure enough, so this was in January, February of 2025. In July of 2025, just a few months later, I get the email that I love to get from anybody who I've ever worked with. I got accepted. I got accepted after I did what you asked me to do. After I followed that, I got accepted, and I'm going to be on the stage at TEDx Oshkosh in November. And guess what? There's Angie. There's Angie standing on that stage delivering their idea worth sharing. Funny enough, Angie is on the same stage that our organizer, Mickey Gates at TEDx Manitou Springs, where I'm the speaker coach, uh, Mickey gave her first TEDx talk at TEDx Oshkosh. So it was kind of a weird coming together of worlds there. But that was Mickey, our organizer's, her first TEDx event as well. And I worked with her. It's a phenomenal. Both talks are phenomenal. Go watch them. Mickey's is about toilets. You'll never look at a toilet the same after you go watch Mickey's talk. But everything that I've described up to this point, everyone, is really this idea that I share with a lot of my coaching clients, which is there's a enormous difference between being an explorer of an idea and being an expert. Most people approach the TEDx stage, approach the TEDx application process, approach giving a talk as if they have to be the expert in something. And what is far more valuable to me, what is far more valuable to TED, what is far more valuable to a lot of the other organizers and curators that I talk with is that we want you to take us on a journey. I'm in Colorado. I love going hiking up in the mountains. I hate the snow, so I don't ski, but I love to hike in the summer. And one of my favorite things to do is find a new trail and discover something deep in the woods, deep in the mountains, and then come back to other people who like to hike and say, guys, guess what? I found something I think you're going to love, something that I think is really interesting. Come along with me. I want to show you, I want to guide you there. That's a very different perspective to take when you're talking about an idea that you care about than just feeling like you have to be the expert in that idea. Because listen, when you take the bent of an expert, what tends to happen is one of three things that I see. When you take the mindset of an expert, a TEDx talk often becomes a performance. It feels, I'll use the cliche word of inauthentic that's been thrown around a lot, but I can see it every time somebody really is trying to position themselves as the expert. Their talk becomes a performance of just how much they know, what they know, how much they know, and saying it as loudly and as certainly as possible. Or it becomes a lecture. And nobody wants to be lectured. Nobody wants to be just thrown a bunch of facts and information because at the end of the day, we don't know what to do with that information. And we're not certainly not going to be tested on that information. Or, and my least favorite, y'all, when you come at it with that mindset of being just the expert in the idea, it is often seen as a chance to just tell us about how awesome you are for 12 to 15 minutes on a stage. And I absolutely can tell. I can tell beyond a shadow of a doubt. I'm using some certain language here when giving a TEDx talk is a business development opportunity for you rather than a chance to share a big idea with the world, an idea that you think is important and one where you want to say, just like that explorer, hey, come along with me. I've got something I want to show you. It comes to TED describes it as this mentality. They tell us look for ideas that position head over heart. There has to be some sort of fact, there has to be some sort of data and information before it just becomes a motivational talk. But I approach it with a little bit different spin on this. I want the head and the heart. I want what you know. Absolutely. That is important. And if you are an expert or the expert in a field, absolutely. Bring that and own that to the stage. But bring along the other part of your personhood with you as well, which is the heart. Bring along the guidance, the showing, the perspective taking that only you as the human can have. That's what I'm looking for as a curator and as a member of the selection team with my TEDx events. So What this looks like. Rob Dubin, million plus views on YouTube of his talk. He takes an idea, he takes an experience of getting lost in the mountains in a snowstorm, his wife almost losing some of her limbs because of frostbite, and relates it to the science of happiness and what it looks like to choose to be happy versus letting life happen to you. There's an enormous value and intensity in delivering that perspective with the science, head plus heart. There's Nee Ehrenheim, another million plus view TEDx talker who shared her experience of being an immigrant to the United States and taking that and saying, here's what research and here's what experience tells us about how to better equip immigrants to succeed in a new country, no matter where they are. It doesn't have to be the United States, but here's how we can think about helping them integrate more quickly so that they can be more productive members of society and not deal with some of the mental health struggles that immigrants deal with. Perspective plus fact, head plus heart. And finally, there's Daniel, who he is one of three speakers that I've coached now who have been promoted by Big TED organization globally for his talk, taking the very simple idea of his parents' community garden and relating that to the effects of networking for the right reasons. Networking shouldn't have to feel or doesn't have to feel gross. Daniel Halleck's talk, thousands and thousands of people reached across the globe, including highlighted by Big Ted because of this, again, blending of head plus heart. So, how do we get there? That's what we're here today to go through. So, there are three questions that you have to answer. I've alluded to all of these questions so far. Now we're going to go into what three questions do you have to answer when you produce your talk, when you put together your talk and start submitting it to TEDx events where you want to speak at. And I'm not going to get into does it match the theme or how long should the talk be or how should I start the talk? How should I build the talk? I'm not going to get into that. There are questions that you must answer first before we begin to think about how to package this talk together. So question number one might be obvious, but what is your idea worth sharing? I say it might be obvious, but you would be absolutely shocked to know that there are far too many TEDx Talk submissions that fall short of giving the curator, the organizer, the actual idea. What is your idea? I call it a declarative statement. Can you package your idea in one statement that tells me what it is? What is your big idea? What is the entire point? I often love to see talks that outline the status quo, how we tend to think about an idea, and then run counter to that based on perspective, based on experience. So many talks that I see never come out and directly say what the idea is. Declare it, just like I say here in the declarative statement. Or the other part of it is they try to pack so many ideas into one talk, thinking if I just layer on this and layer on this and layer on this, the riches are in the niches, to use some of my marketing background. When you can niche your idea down and be as specific as possible and declare what your idea is about, that's what's going to catch people's attention. That's what's going to catch an organizer, a curator, a speaker coach's eye when you submit your idea. Now, so many talks then fall into the jargony or cliche or the motivational speaker kind of world. And so there are tests, measures to try and get you away from this that I advocate for. I despise cliches. I despise when I see a cliche talk. I despise when I see a talk filled with a lot of jargon, whether it's from a specific industry or whether it's from a business perspective. One of the things to really ask yourself when you are trying to remove jargon or cliche from your talk or your language is, would I say this to my best friend? If I'm sitting across from my best friend at a coffee shop, am I going to say the word synergy? Am I gonna and we're gonna get more into this here in a little bit about what this looks like, but would I say this, would these words actually come out of my mouth if I was talking to my kid, my grandmother, my best friend? Turn those cliches then, if there is a cliche there, turn them into metaphors. Make up your own. And stories always mean more as a metaphor to a larger idea. Create your own phrases to describe a situation or an idea that you're sharing. And the more specific and clear with that phrase, that idea, that metaphor that you can be, the better. Turn narrative, just telling a story step by step by step, into dialogue always helps more. And be aware of forced humor as well. So, what does this look like in practice? Well, this is Jamie. And as we went through Jamie's talk, one of her lines, as she was describing what it looked like to put herself out there and dive into the business world for herself, was, "Hey, that first $150 payment made me feel like $1 million." That's what she wrote in her talk. I said, "Jamie, is that true? Did $150 really make you feel like $1 million? Or was there something else?" She's like, "You're absolutely right. It didn't make me feel like $1 million. But what it did make me feel like was a business owner." That $150 payment proved from her first client, proved to her, I can do this. I'm a business owner. I just got paid for the thing that I want to get paid for. That's an enormously different story than the cliche of, I feel like $1 million, right? Now, would you actually say that? Would you actually say and bring, there's this thing that I make fun of in the TEDx world, which is there's the TEDx voice and the TEDx delivery and the TEDx language. You can kind of always pick out, who's trying to give a TEDx talk. It's why the little throwaway, and welcome to my TEDx talk is always out there. But would you actually say it? This is Paul Helinski, which, by the way, until Paul stood on our stage at TEDx Manitou Springs, I want to encourage you, he had applied and got rejected by more than 30 other TEDx events. So keep going. It eventually will happen. But in his talk, he wrote this line: "Mathematics, like a universal language, transcends the boundaries of professions and disciplines. It is the thread that weaves throughout the blah, 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 blah." Like, come on. That fails my test from earlier of, would you say this to your friend at a coffee shop? Does it not? No one would ever, those words would come out of no one's mouth unless they were thinking, oh, I have to sound like a TEDx talk here. But that's not what I'm looking for. That's not what most TEDx organizers are looking for. So we changed it. Listen, mathematics cuts through language barriers and shows up in all kinds of professions. Whether we realize it or not, mathematics is a constant. It's a part of the learning journey to discover new things. That's what his talk was about. And now we have some plain language that everybody understands what he's talking about in words that he would actually use. So be careful when you create your submissions, when you're answering all those questions that we inevitably ask when we ask you to apply for a TEDx talk. Use real language. Use language that is your own and how you actually would speak it out loud to somebody else. So that idea, how is it packaged? Is it free of cliche, free of jargon? Is it actually something that you would say? Are you declaring that idea in clear and concise terms? Do I know in one sentence what your idea is? That's the first question you've got to answer. Question number two, why you? Why is it you that wants to stand on this stage and deliver that? If that's your idea, if that's your specific declarative statement and idea, why are you the person to stand on our stage and deliver it? So often we try to look at the models of the TEDx talk world, the behemoths in the TEDx talk world, the Brene Browns, the Simon Sinek's, the Angela Duckworths, and we say, that's what I want to be. I want to deliver the next TEDx talk that skyrockets me to fame and glory like Simon Sinek, or that makes me a household name like Brene Brown. Now, if you go back and watch their TEDx talks, they were not on the big TED stage to begin with. They each brought a perspective, a lived experience to their talk that told us, why are you uniquely qualified? Your talk's premise has to be your own. What I do not want as an organizer or as a curator who's thinking about putting the best ideas on our stage in the middle of that red dot, I do not want repackaged. I don't want a talk that is just repackaging someone else's own thoughts and ideas in your language tied to your story. I don't want the concept of Simon Sinek's start with why. I don't want the church version of that. Or I don't want the nonprofit version of that. Or I don't want the financial literacy version of that. I want the idea that is primary sourced from you, from your experiences, from people you know, from firsthand research, from owned experiences. When I gave my first TEDx talk, and this is me standing on that stage, the image that you see here, I gave a talk on how to find common ground. And that talk was built from interviews that I had done on my podcast. I had started a podcast. I had been interviewing people about how we find common ground, and I had out of all of those interviews that I'd done on my podcast, some themes started to come out. Some really interesting things that I thought, I think other people might want to know this. This thing that I am seeing, that I am witnessing, that I am experiencing for myself, I think there's something here that others might want to know. There had been plenty of other talks on how to find common ground, and plenty of other TEDx talks. Mine was the only one that was uniquely brought to the stage from my own first party interviews that I had done with people. That's what I'm talking about. Owning your premise, owning the idea. I tell people all the time as a coach, your TEDx talk main idea, it's already been done. There's been every business talk, every talk about common ground, every talk about how to, how you shouldn't should on yourself. It's been done. So why are you the person to now give us the perspective that you want to give us? Primary sources, firsthand research, owned experiences. And questions are the unlock to this, y'all. Asking yourself really deep, important questions about your idea or about your talk that bring and bubble things to the surface. What's been true in my life that offers me a unique perspective on this topic that I care about? Asking yourself to go deep into your background, your experience. Listen, what's the counterpoint? What do I see is missing? What, based on my experience, what's missing on this topic that I think I could help inform? Or, hey, the audience has heard this before. What fears and apprehensions and criticisms to this idea do I know that I'm going to have to overcome for anybody that hears my talk? I've got a worksheet that I'm going to send all of you. It's 15 questions to ask yourself based on this. You're going to receive this with the recording of this session, but I encourage you when you get this worksheet, take your idea and run it through the lens of all 15 of these questions and be honest with yourself. Because there are absolutely some ideas or some talks that just simply are not informed enough by your experience, by your firsthand research, that if it's important enough, you'll go and do it. You'll go and find it. But if it's not, let's find something else. Let's get underneath your experience to find out what do we actually want to bring to the stage. And finally, the last question, question number 3, what story will you tell? One of my favorite quotes about storytelling is from Kazuo Ishiguro, who says, stories are about one person saying to another, this is the way it feels to me. Does it feel the same way to you? It's beautiful. It's beautiful language about the fact that we all know what a story is. We all know that we like to hear stories than just facts and figures thrown at us. But again, to go back to what I said earlier, when we don't have that declarative idea, when we try to pack too many ideas into one, stories start to get pushed out. Stories we begin to try and mold stories around facts and information that now we're starting to lose the common thread, the common theme of the idea that I want to share. I take Ishiguro's quote and say it like this. I want you to take your experience and perspective and give it meaning. Give it meaning that others can relate to. While it's your own experience perspective, there's got to be a bigger bubble that expands from that experience that makes it relatable to and understandable to everyone else. Because the number one thing that I, as a curator, as an organizer, as a reviewer of all of these applications, and the audience, the number one question that we are asking when somebody stands up and gets ready to speak in the middle of that TEDx red dot, why should I care? And stories are the way to help people understand why should I care? It comes down to this. There's a Stanford University professor, and he's kind of a giant in the speaking world. His name's Matthew Abrahams. I believe it's Abrahams. Abraham or Abrahams. Anyway, I should know his name. He says a lot of talks can be simplified and structured down to answering three questions: what, so what, and now what? And most of the talks that I see, most of the applications that I see are really good at answering the two questions in black here. What? What's my idea? What do I want to talk about? What idea do I want to bring to the stage? Might be too many ideas, as we've already covered, but we're good at answering the what question. We're also really good at answering the now what question. A little bit of ego involved in this, but what do I want people to do with this? What do I think people should do now that they've heard what I have to say? We're good at directing people towards an outcome. What I find that we're not so good at articulating is the so what. Why should I care? Make it relevant to me through the stories that you tell. When we only focus on the what and the so what, we like I said, we detach ourselves from stories more. So Stephen Hayward, he gave a talk about how to condense an entire semester's worth of a college course into 1 week. He was also promoted by Big Ted for his talk. And yeah, that concept of can an entire semester, a college course, be taught in 1 week? Can we do it? And where most storytelling gets stuck is thinking that we have to have some grand experience, we have to have scaled Everest or dove down to see the Titanic or like Rob Dubin's story, get lost in a blizzard up in the mountains of Colorado and survive. That's not always the case. Stephen Hayward's talk began from a moment of binge watching The Office. If you've ever seen the TV show with Steve Carell, it was during COVID. He and his daughter had COVID. They were quarantined to the basement, and he binge watched The Office. And out of that came this thought, huh, humans can pay attention. Humans do not have the attention span of a goldfish. Could we binge an entire college semester? Because Stephen is a college professor. Not a grand story, but a grand idea. Absolutely. Now, a story also is not a narration of events. It's not just, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. There's a rhythm and a flow to storytelling where if you use more buts and so's, this idea struck me, but I was curious if this thing over here was true. And so I went and did this. But then I was met with this idea. And so that took me down this path. That's just a more interesting flow to a story rather than just saying, well, then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, all the way down. It's a nuance of storytelling, but just narrating a sequence of events does not a good story make. Those stories happen in specific, relatable, snap moments in time where just like Steven, you're sitting there binge watching The Office and you get the thought, huh, I wonder if this could be true. Now, part of storytelling as well is, again, I want you to simplify things down before we start building things up. I want you to try this exercise with me, or on your own time. But simplify your story down as far as you can go and have it still make sense. And then only add in detail if needed. Now I'm going to share an example of this. I would love you to do this for your favorite movie on your own time. I call this the detail sprinkle method. Describe your favorite movie in as few words as you possibly can. One sentence, that's all you get. Now, my favorite movie is Life as a House. Put in the chat if you've seen Life as a House, or put in the chat your favorite movie. Maybe share. My favorite movie is Life as a House. Life as a House is a movie about a father and a son who build a house together. That's it. That's as simple and as down to the nitty gritty as I can get. Lindsay says I Heart Huckabees is her favorite movie. I've never seen that one. So, Life as a House is a movie about a father and a son who build a house together. Not enough detail for you, though, to want to go watch a movie about a father and a son who build a house together. Okay. So, add, as we tell our story, let's add some details here. Let's go up one level. Life as a House is a movie about a father and a son who build a house together as a way to repair their estranged relationship. Okay. Dan says his favorite movie is Memento. Haven't seen that one either. Wings of Desire. Dang, y'all are putting in movies that I've never seen. I'm gonna have to watch these. So, Life as a House is a movie about a father and a son who build a house together as a way to repair their estranged relationship. Okay, maybe I'm getting a little bit of maybe the conflict of the story. Still not quite enough information though here. So let's add one more layer of detail. Life as a House is a movie about a father and a son who build a house together as a way to repair their estranged relationship after the father learns he's dying of cancer and wants something to leave his son after he's gone. Okay, now you know. Like there are so many other subplots and side stories to Life as a House, but now you get a sense for it's not a happy movie. It's probably not an animated movie. There's some drama there. There's some deep emotion that probably exists in this movie, and that's your thing. Maybe that's the type of movie that you want to go see, and you're ready to go watch Life as a House to feel the fullness of it. Jessica says, "Remember the Titans." I have seen that one. Joyce says, "Out of Africa." That's how we want to story tell. That's how we want to build our stories from the ground up. What we so often do when we story tell is we know the fullness of every story, lived experience that we have. And so what we tend to do is we try to cut, and pare things down. And what I'm asking you to do when you story tell is build from the base, build from the ground up. Start small and add details as needed to get the point across. Because in a TEDx talk, you've got 12 to 15 minutes. A story does not need to be a 5 minute narration of what happened in your life or this event that took place. Be intentional about stories. Add by taking away and giving us just enough information to make the story clear and relevant to us. So, what makes a TEDx talk TEDx or what makes a talk TEDx worthy? As I wrap things up here, a TEDx worthy talk, it's answering those three questions. It's about sharing the experiences that you've accumulated, the firsthand witnessing accounts, and the things that you know to be true from your perspective, shared in a way that brings others along with you as a guide, as an explorer of an idea, not as a lecturer, not as an all-knowing expert. And to do that, you've got to go far beyond the surface level insights, the already been done lessons. Look, don't try and piggyback off of somebody else's idea and just mold it to your own, like I said earlier. We want you. I want you on my stage. And yes, you're bringing an idea, but the thing that made Angie's talk finally resonate was making the switch from telling all that they knew to bringing themselves, the fullness of themselves and their experience and the exploration of an idea, saying, hey, I think others might be interested about this as well. Is it worth being on your stage? And TEDx Oshkosh said yes. So, with that, a little bit about me for those of you who do not know. As I've said, I'm a speaking and communications coach. I am the head curator and head speaker coach at TEDx Manitou Springs, given a couple of these TEDx talks myself. All those good things there. I won't read everything off to you, but I want to now get into questions. Questions from you all in the audience. You can, like I said, put them in the chat, or you can come off mute and we can engage here, get a little live one-on-one coaching here right in this session if you have them. So I turn things over to you. That's what I have for you. Hopefully that was helpful.
First of all, thank you so much. Great content. This is really helpful. I'm as I just kind of begin to explore, TEDx talks, getting involved, doing a TEDx talk. What does the application process kind of typically look like?
Right. Most of the time, the TEDx event will put out a call for speakers. They will say, here's when our next event is, and here's the theme for that event. For instance, our event in May is You Belong Here. That's the theme of the event. And so we're looking for a diversity of ideas that in a loose way relate to that concept or that theme of you belong here. So an event's theme, some events absolutely want every theme to tie or every talk to tie in directly to the theme. So they may have a very specific idea like AI in the modern age. That's a random one off the top of my head. So be careful with and ensure that your talk does at least align with the event theme in some way, or that you can make the case, excuse me, make the case for it. Then there typically is a an initial just like written application portion where you're asking questions like, what is your idea? Have you ever given this talk before? How was your idea informed? It's kind of going back to that head over heart stuff. Like what sources will you pull from? Why are you the I mean, it's some of them are literally answering the questions that I've gone through today. What's your idea? Why you? And what stories will you tell or what will you highlight to make this relevant to the audience? A lot of times they will ask you flat out, how does your idea relate to our theme? Or how would you tie in your idea to our theme? So it's that written portion. During that written portion, sometimes they will ask you to create a just a short 2 to 5 minute video describing your idea, just so we can get a sense for you as a speaker. Hey, can they actually deliver a talk and not sound like a robot or not be monotone, or do they have some vocal dynamics in their voice and not shake with almighty fear in front of a camera describing their idea? We got to know that there's at least some sense that you can stand on a stage. I coach people on that all the time, stage presence in addition to their premise and their talk idea. Beyond that, it kind of varies. Some will interview the next round of candidates as they get applications in. They'll pick some out, they'll do a quick interview. Others will ask for more information, maybe a series of follow-up questions to have you ask. It kind of varies from there, but almost all of them start with event, theme, and then those questions that help get an idea of how will you tie into this event that we want to put on. Dan, does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you're very welcome. What other questions can I answer? Dr. Persephone, I'm glad this was helpful. Thank you so much for showing up and attending. Appreciate it. Other questions?
How long before the event do they put out the call?
Again, can vary, but most of the time, I know I like to put out a call for speakers about 6 months, 5 to 6 months out from the event. In some instances, it may be a little bit shorter, 4 months. That's cutting it pretty close when you talk about having to craft the talk, practice the talk, commit the talk to memory, all that good stuff. But typically about 6 months out. And there's a great map on the TEDx website that shows you all of the TEDx events that are planned and upcoming. You can look for TEDx events in your area. That tends to be where a lot of people like to draw their speakers from as their area, but they'll also they'll also make that clear on their application like, hey, we're TEDx Charlotte or TEDx Mile High. We only pull in speakers from Colorado or North Carolina. we at TEDx Manitou Springs, we typically like to have 6 speakers per event, per large event. And I like to have 3 from Colorado and 3 from anywhere in the world. I don't care. But that's a part of the application process as well. To go back to Dan's question, make sure that you're applying for events where you would be available to that event. But yeah, 6 months, I would say, is about when you want to start looking for that call for speakers from an event.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, how are people finding the calls? Is there a grand place? I looked for local to El Paso County, and I found TEDx. I had gone to one at UCCS, and I guess they're not doing a Colorado Springs one anymore. But I found Manitou Springs, so I thought, how else could I look for it besides leaning on Google?
Yeah. And stay tuned because little somebody might be helping bring TEDx Colorado Springs back here in the near future. Um, go to the TEDx website. Go to TEDx.com. There is a under the actually, I think I might be able to just pull it up here if I can share, if I'm still sharing my screen, which I am. Let's pull this up. So TEDx.com. Hopefully you all are seeing this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If you go to attend and click on TEDx events right here and wait, there we go. Why is it not pulling up? Let me refresh. There it goes. Okay. So uh, this is that map I was talking about. If you scroll in, you can start to see the TEDx events in the area. There's TEDx Manitou Springs right there, May 16th. If you're in the area, please, tickets are on sale now. But yeah, you can poke around there and you can start to find events in your area. There is a gentleman named Cesar Cervantes who puts out on his newsletter call for speakers. I want to say, and Caesar is a good friend of TEDx Manitou Springs. He's also a speaker coach. I want to say down at the bottom of his website, maybe, yeah, TEDx Master List. If you jump on this or sign up for his newsletter, I believe Caesar sends out when new call for speakers has gone out. So I would encourage you to get on that list as well. Janda, did that answer your question? Got a thumbs up. Okay, very good. Other questions? Anything else I can help with? Okay. Well, hearing none, then I will just wrap things up by saying, oh, somebody raised their hand. I don't know how to do that. Hold on. Janet,
Me
you
again,
had
yeah.
another question?
Well, um, we'll be able to get this recording and review it. And then, are there other ways? I've been in Toastmasters for the last 10 years practicing in case I ever get a TED Talk. And I thought, I wonder if there's another way I can practice because I'm going to throw it into my Toastmaster clubs and get better at this.
Yeah, so like practicing live, you mean?
Any way I can practice. I just really want to be able to do it. At this point, I'm mostly doing things by Zoom. And
Okay.
I write for the local paper, but
Yeah.
my goal is to be able to do public speaking, and I do it for, Kiwanis or some other places, any place I can get practice. But I thought, I wonder, practicing on my own, I'm sure everybody here wants to know too, practicing on my own and also other places. So they're really good when you make that five
Yeah.
5 minute video and we're talking off the cuff.
Yeah. Two ideas, two thoughts come to mind there. One is to get more practice in front of people. One of the things that you can do is if you have a chamber of commerce or a business leaders group in your area, those types of organizations are always looking for guest speakers. So if you can just say, "Hey, I'd love to come give you and present you a talk for free at your next monthly meeting," would that be something you'd be open to? Reach out to those groups and just get time in front of people. Toastmasters is a great way to do that as well, absolutely. But reach out to, Toastmasters is a it's a friendly organization to the speaker there. So getting
Yes.
in front of people that don't know you, that haven't seen the process from behind the scenes, the mucky mess behind the scenes,
Yeah.
doing that can help. Another thing that you can do on your own is record yourself, stand up, record yourself, and do one of three things. That I got this from another speaker coach who's kind of popular out there. Um, do one of three things when you record yourself giving your talk. The first time, listen to your talk. Turn the phone over or just shut the video off and just listen to the audio of your talk. And critique yourself. How did that sound? Did I make that point clear enough? Did I ramble at this point? Just listen to yourself. Then go back, do the same thing, except turn the volume down and just watch yourself. What does it look like? Me, I'm a pacer. I go back and forth. I talk a lot with my hands. And, when I just am watching myself, I notice the little ticks, the little habits in speaking that I have. And then the last thing is print out or get a transcript of your talk and just as you've given it, not the script that you tried to memorize, but load it into ChatGPT or some transcription software, the actual talk that you've given, and just read what you've said. And again, look for flow. Does it make sense? Are my points connected? That's a great way to just practice on your own.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right. Well, here's what happens now. I will send you the recording. I will send you that worksheet. I will also send you, if you are at all interested in working with me as your coach, send you a little bit of a special there as well. So look for the follow-up information coming to your email inbox here. Hopefully by the end of the day, we'll get you that information. If there are any other questions about any of this that I didn't cover, or that you didn't want to come off mute for or ask in front of the group, please reach out. Let me know. I would love to be a part of your TEDx journey and helping you out and get you on a stage, just like Angie and so many others that I shared in this talk. So I appreciate you taking time out of your Friday to join me here. I hope it was helpful. And again, I'm here as a resource for you if you ever need it. So have a wonderful rest of your day. All the best to you and those you love, and we'll talk soon. Bye now.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Michael. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.